Hello and welcome to the Vowcast, hosted by me, Elizabeth.
And me, Whitney.
Two great friends and colleagues here at Paradise Weddings, a company that's organized thousands of destination weddings. And today we will be sharing everything you need to know about planning a destination wedding, plus we'll be answering some of the listener questions.
Before we get started, if you are planning a destination wedding in the Caribbean or Mexico and you want some more insider tips, please hit subscribe or follow us wherever you're listening.
What are the perks of saying I do abroad?
Number one, it's usually better pricing than what it would be to do the whole wedding at home. And of course, everything is included. So, your guests will spend a one-time fee and they won't have to spend anything else.
Then you have the venues.
Venues, beautiful venues with beautiful scenery already without having to add too much to it. Again, with bringing the price down.
Venues number two, I would say three would be, it's a 3-day celebration. You're no longer thinking of one event where you need to think of the linen and the centerpiece and this and that was it. You go around table by table trying to say hi to everyone. You
have a few hours to do it.
You plan for so long, you have a few hours of event, and then that was the wedding. In a destination wedding, you have days. So you hang out by the pool, you have your meals together, you all go to the big disco that the resort has. So there's a lot of other things happening around it, and it just becomes a much more enhanced experience. A lot of, insider jokes by the time you get married, that all of your, ride or dies are there, everyone just hanging out, having a good time, all gathered because you love your partner, and it's just a magical experience. So, those are great reasons, I would say, to pick. There might be hundreds of others. A lot of our couples have family spread around in many states or countries, so meeting in one place makes it even more cost effective for the whole.
So what is included in an all-inclusive destination wedding?
And it all starts with resorts that are all-inclusive resorts, right? There's two big things in the hotel industry. One is European plan, when you go and check in and you just have a room and that's that. And then you have the all-inclusive resorts. And the all-inclusive resorts are exactly what it says in the name. You pay one fee, you get all of the food, all of the drink, all of the entertainment, amenities, swimming pool, access to the beach, all of the you don't need to go anywhere from a resort. It's all in there. And they have this amazing feature of doing also in the all-inclusive a portion of it to events like a wedding.
Wedding, exactly. So with your wedding packages comes an inclusive package of ceremony, cocktail, reception, extra things, open bar, food, DJ, photography can be additional, but you can pretty much make a completely all-inclusive package for your wedding as well.
So this means that your family and friends pay their fee to go to the resort, they'll book a room, they'll have access to all the food and beverage throughout the property, so you don't have to worry about, who's paying the bill for this one, and if they have availability of food, or even for food restrictions. There's so many, we have family that doesn't eat this type of food or that type of food. Resorts are all equipped for that, so you don't have to worry about those details. And it's just like everyone having a vacation together on a weekend where there will be your event, and it's just a win-win for everyone.
What are the essentials to get started?
First and foremost is probably dates. Thinking about dates is really important, not necessarily having one date only, but you can have a range of dates. But if you're flexible and open, maybe talking about what dates are better weather, thinking about holiday season,
price for coffee, for flights.
Yeah, exactly, price for flights. Things that would affect you and your guests as well. What do you think?
Super important. Guest list, I'm thinking essentials. When you want to get married, how many people are you inviting?
Right.
Super important to think about. It is international travel most of the time, so you want to make sure that you count on a percentage that will make it. We have a 65 to 75% of attendance, more or less. A lot of the weddings do grow, but I think that's a good number to keep in mind. Just by saying international travel, some of your guest list will drop out. And then also it kind of gives a nicer, intimate list for the group. Those that will definitely go abroad for your wedding are your family and close friends. So Something else to consider is, are you inviting kids?
Right, exactly. Or is it all adults?
Yes, because there's properties that are only for adults and there are others that are like family oriented. There are some cases where there's a combo where you have an adult property next to a family friendly one. So like they mix some of the facilities and the wedding caters for all of the group. There might be, you know, just a couple kids or a handful of kids in the family, and then you don't want it to be in the middle of a splash theme park.
Right.
So that's something important to think about. What about the type of ceremony?
Yeah, that's another thing to definitely think of. Most common is what we call a symbolic ceremony, where people would get married. You would get married at home first, do the legal paperwork at home, and then you would have your symbolic ceremony here. The other option, you can definitely do more of a religious ceremony in the Caribbean or in Mexico, where you can they have Catholic chapels in some of the locations and some of the resorts, so you can have the Catholic ceremony. We do a lot of South Asian weddings, so there's a
Christian,
Christian.
Jewish.
There's a lot of range.
It is possible to do a religious wedding in destination, 100%. You need to probably plan a little bit more for a traditional religious wedding, and that will probably also limit your options because not every resort caters for every single type of wedding, but it's possible. And when you said, yes, symbolic is just the way to go. It makes it easy. It's also intimate. Most couples bring their own officiant, like our uncle, you know, that presents and does the whole ceremony. It's a quick half-hour ring exchange and vows, super emotional, and then you have a blast and a party after. So those are important details to think about. Also, you need to factor in how much you want your guests to spend.
Yeah, this is a really big one because not a lot of couples think about that beforehand, but it's definitely something you should think about. Think about what you would feel comfortable asking them to pay per night. It's a very, very big factor to consider because you want a wedding, beautiful wedding in destination, but you also want guests to be able to afford to come. So,
and it's an all-inclusive.
Right.
Remember, all-inclusive prices out different. You know, if you go to a European plan resort, it's a hotel, it's a fixed fee per night, and that's that. However many people share that room. With all-inclusive, they price it out per person per night based on the number of people that share a room, because they need to account on, you know, this many people share the room. Okay, this many people will eat at the resort. And so it's a different layout of pricing. So it's higher than what you would probably think about any stay. But it's when you add it up to food, drink, and all of the whole thing, then it makes complete sense. So what else? Distance from the airport. I think that's another one that we like to consider to make sure that, you know, you're comfortable. If you have guests traveling from very far out, that they have a decent ride from the airport to the resort.
Yeah, that's definitely another common one. People ask for not too long a transfer. So yeah, that's definitely something to consider.
And then you want to make sure it's available. So like all of these factors with your dates, with the seasonality you're looking at, you want to make sure that the resort, like I'm thinking right now of all of the inquiries we have for next spring, which is completely full. You know, you want to make sure there's availability for your guests and for the actual wedding day.
How do you lock in your dream venue?
Narrowing down to the right resort takes quite a bit of effort. There's a lot of things to think about. I mean, we will probably touch base more on packages as well, and all of the things you need to think about so that you can get to that decision of picking the right resort. So please get help.
Exactly. I was about to say that's why it's so important to get help in the process, for sure.
And once you get to that place of, okay, this is the one. And it's amazing to see couples' face go like, when we show the one, they're like, yep, all I dreamed about, ticks all the boxes. We get to that point, what's next?
Lock in the date. Let's make sure that wedding date's locked in for you so no one else takes it. These resorts have a lot of weddings throughout the year, so it's really important to lock that date as soon as possible to make sure you don't miss out.
And to do that, normally there's a form you fill in. Usually your wedding specialist will help you with that process where you fill in all the information, send it to the weddings team at the resort. They'll okay it. They'll lock everything for you. There's an initial deposit that they'll require. That one's usually linked to whatever package you pick. There will be probably 3-4 options of package always per resort. Plus, you can always add on them or have an a la carte option where you're like, no, I don't want the package. I want something different. But I can say that packages are are well thought of.
Right.
They're
Exactly.
a fantastic option. So once you lock that date based on your venues, your package, then you want to secure rooms. You need to talk about a block of rooms for your guests. It's called a room block, and also get help with that. What happens is you pick an assortment of room types and the range of dates that your group will need. It's a little process there with thinking about more or less what people will do if they're going to do a 5-night stay rather than a 3-night stay, and it's an important part of the process so that everything else runs smoothly later on. But then you block those rooms. That also requires a deposit, so there's 2 deposits to get everything locked in, and with that, you're good to go.
You can breathe.
You can breathe. What's the average time you think that all of this that we just discussed happens, more or less?
2 months, 3 months.
It can be faster.
You can.
If you're like ready and you're way far out to say that you can pick a date and it's going to be available, but in reality, we get sometimes a month.
I think if you're starting from scratch and you're really, at that overwhelmed stage and have no clue as to where to begin, but you want destination, I think maybe 2 months. Yeah.
Around that. So then you can, it's your first milestone of like, okay, it's booked. I
Exactly.
can breathe.
How do you organize all your guests without getting overwhelmed?
So when you have rooms blocked, there will be someone in charge of helping all of your guests to book. Just think about, requests, needing to be ground floor or
Extend their stay, change
all
their
of
room
that.
category.
You don't have to deal with because it can be very stressful. You have a lot of guests, a lot of requests about things that you don't know. That's why the specialists are a good option.
And sometimes the guests have a question specifically about the resort, and of course you're not going to know that if you haven't been before or you don't know. So of course it's really important to have someone that is going to help them and knows their stuff about the resort itself.
Some couples take this as oh my gosh, I'm inviting them overseas or abroad to a wedding, so I should be on top of everything, and take care of every single detail. And that's a big mistake that can cause a lot of anxiety. So make sure that you know that you can point them to the right direction, and then there will be someone that knows what they're doing to help them out, and you can chill and relax and think about the actual wedding.
Who plans my wedding day aesthetics?
Yeah, which is, I think, the next in line with what's happening in the process. So your guests are booking. It gets, 3-4 months, maybe 3 to 6 months before the wedding. You start planning. How does that work in the resorts, Wade?
So with the wedding planning stage, you will actually get a wedding planner on site at the resort that helps you with planning your day of wedding. They will be the ones that help you with your inspiration. If you've got a mood board that you want to share with them and show them the kind of images and stuff you want to create for your actual day, they'll be the ones that can execute that for you. And they will, as Elizabeth said, around 3 months to 6 months before, they will start the planning stage depending on the resort and the type of ceremony you're having. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I don't
please.
want to interrupt you.
No, please.
There's something
do
you
that.
really need to remember at this stage. Resorts can do a lot of weddings a day, a lot of weddings a year. Okay? That doesn't mean yours is just one more. It means that they know what they're doing. So make sure you trust in the system, because this time can get a little bit, nerve-wracking. If you really want to make sure you know everything a year out, then probably get extra help for that. But resorts usually do this 3 to 6 months before. They'll reach out with a fantastic spreadsheet. They'll ask every single question. They'll ask for your mood board. They'll talk to you once or twice, and that's it. They don't need more than that for planning a wedding. They know what they're doing. So make sure you trust in that. The whole thing works because it's made, based on the superstructure of a resort and a wedding team at a resort. So I would say take a breath if you're getting worried. It's important to know and trust, and also reach out if you have questions, if you have doubts. It doesn't mean they won't answer, but the way resorts work is they'll plan weddings 3 to 6 months out, and they'll operate weddings daily. So the same people that are taking care of your planning are actually going out there and helping a bride with the dress, with the guests, with this, with that. So they're like super extremely busy. They're they're tight with their schedules.
Right.
You'll find emails at 11 p.m. after a wedding, like answering some of your questions. So make sure you understand how that works so that you're at ease, that they're not forgetting about you, or they know what they're doing. That's kind of how it works. We try to help and manage those expectations so you feel confident that it's okay. And of course, if there's something, major, your destination wedding specialist should be able to help you.
Time to answer your listener questions.
Okay, so let's see. The first one says, how do vendors work?
Was a good one.
Good question. Actually, part of that same process we just discussed, which is the last bit of it when you're planning your day up. The resort will have a list of house vendors, in-house vendors, they call them, and they'll have florists, they'll have photography, hair and makeup, most of it even like staff within the resort that works, at their spa, or they have an actual floral like station within the property. They even grow their own flowers. Like it's huge. So those are their in-house vendors. They might have a list of extras if you're not convinced with one or two and you want to try a different one. If you decide to bring one from outside of that list, resort permitting, because some of them won't allow like food because they don't want to risk, that you bring food from outside. They will charge an external vendor fee, and those run from $500 to $800 depending on the service. And just make sure that's information you communicate with your wedding coordinator at the resort closer to date. Another way that some couples do it is they'll bring them into the room block and they make them like stay for the 3 nights. So they waive that fee if they're guests at the wedding. Say you bring your photographer from home, then that would be a way out of the external vendor fee. Not sure which one is less expensive, but But yeah, that's more or less how vendors work. And I want to say trust the vendors. The whole thing works again, and it's nice to have like a whole set of everything sorted out for you and not having to do a lot of research. But if you have someone that that you really want, then go for it.
Yeah, for sure, I agree.
So what's the next one?
Next one is, can I bring or send decor to the resort? This is it's a good question. We get asked it quite a bit. It's not a cut and dry answer of yes or no. You can't. Yes, you can. Some resorts do allow it, and they will store anything that you shipped over in advance, with the exception
Reasonable
of some
size.
items. Yeah, reasonable size, with the exception of some items. There is a policy for it. Most of the time, the resorts that allow it, they will actually put it in your wedding contract, the policy and the terms and conditions around it. My only advice is, with the exception of if you have a guest that's coming and they're bringing some small things in their luggage, small centerpieces or gifts. We went to a wedding recently where it was a South Asian wedding. They brought all the gifts from India. It was amazing. So those things, yes, it's perfectly normal and fine to bring. But if you're asking the resort to store things ahead of time, there could be a rule around that.
For money, like a fee or something.
Exactly. And storage, like policy for like no longer than a certain amount of time, etc.
Only like a certain amount of time before the wedding, like not 6 months before, but only like a few weeks.
Otherwise, I would say, as Elizabeth just mentioned about the vendors, really trust in the resort planning part, because they literally have so many items and so many things you can add. The list is literally endless. So I really believe that you will not be able to find something somewhere else that you can't find there, unless it's a personal item for you, with the family and everything.
If you think about pricing, like you might find it a little bit higher in pricing within the property. So it's kind of like you need to wait and see what you want to do, go through the hassle of customs and having issues with that. It's getting tricky in Mexico with, electronics and a few things like that. So like, do you want to go through that, or do you just instead pay it maybe a little bit more but forget about it? So it's kind of like up to you there. But it's a good question. I think very common one as well. There's another one that says, can I bring a dog? Of course you can. Well, I'd say, of course you can. Parenthesis, to some properties, depending on the size of the dog. If you have a San Bernardo, I don't think they'll take him anywhere. But it is common to get, your puppy on your ceremony. The resorts are more and more open to this. Even flights, service dogs or just like smaller dogs are allowed. But make sure you mention this early on in the process. Right. It's part of the big essentials that we discussed of like what you want to put into the mix to be able to narrow down a property. if your dog coming to your wedding is a must, then that definitely has to come in the same
In the beginning
early
stage.
stages, so
Yes.
that wedding planning knows you pick a resort that actually allows dogs, because not all of them do, and so forth. So
And some of them are really cool. They have like a little doggy area with
and if you bring your dog, I mean, there's obviously a fee at the resort and some rules around,
yeah,
but they'll have like a plate, and
Yeah,
they'll bring,
exactly.
you know, a treat, which is nice.
it's really cute. Next one, can my family member be an officiant? I think we touched on this earlier with the wedding part, but yes, absolutely they can. Symbolic ceremony only. We actually went to one recently, and the high school college friend officiated the wedding. It was so amazing, so intimate, so personalized. We also went to another one where the uncle did it, and he was talking about another member of the family during the vacation so far. So it was really yeah, just very personalized and intimate. And
Makes it very, yeah, definitely do it if you can do it, since it's symbolic and it doesn't have like a legal repercussion to have someone doing it or not. Remember what Whitney mentioned earlier, you get married at home, you have a symbolic wedding, anyone can perform it, and of course just make sure you mention that to your wedding team as well.
And if you don't have anyone that wants to do that, then they will provide
And
someone
really
to
good
officiate.
ones as
Yeah,
well. We've been to a few
absolutely.
weddings, they're super professional, like very nice, touching
Yeah, you
speeches.
can tell them certain things that you want to say. Yeah, for sure. I think the producer has a question, right?
What's that?
What's the craziest special request you've ever been asked?
Oh, what's the craziest special request we've ever been asked?
I would say helicopter to
Oh,
to the ceremony, like that the groom wanted to land into the ceremony in a helicopter, and it did happen in Cabo, so it was crazy, but we managed.
It blew all the sand off the beach in
Yeah,
Cabo.
everyone was like, ah! But it worked. What about you?
I've had elephant. Can I bring an elephant to the ceremony?
Send that ahead to the
Yeah,
hotel,
no.
please.
And that one we couldn't make happen. The results couldn't make that happen. Also, we had the skydive into the ceremony. I mean, it's such a cool idea, but it was not possible to make it happen with the.
I feel like that one could potentially be
I
possible.
think it could be eventually. You just have to make sure they land in the exact location.
But imagine it's cloudy that day and then you get what? You don't get married?
Yeah, sure,
Rather not.
sure.
Okay. There's another one. How far out is the optimal time to start planning? Please, a year.
Yeah, we love a year or a little bit more than a year.
Makes
That's a very
everything
good time.
easier. Makes your life easier. Gives ample time to your guests to plan, to save up money, to, you know, ask for vacation days at work. Like really gives everyone a good time. It doesn't mean that they won't straggle and they won't be at the end always like running on deadlines. But it is fair. I think it's international travel. You want to make sure people have passports.
Yeah.
They know about it. They can think, they can discuss within their families, and then they can make a decision. Versus married in 6 months, you know, you should already have passports and buy flights right now, which might be already expensive, and all of that. So it is possible.
I would say it's doable to do a less than a year, of course. But if you want this nice transition process of
And if you want the
step by step.
weekend, like we're almost out of weekends for next year.
Yeah.
So it also, like, they go quick. It sounds like, really? Yes, they do go quick. It's incredible how you call a property and they're like, oh, we're out of Saturdays for 2026, or, you know, like it's really, really tough to get the right date. If you're very specific on your date, make sure you do it at least a year out. And yeah, also to secure, you know, good flights for your guests and everything, it's important to give them some time.
I also think it depends on the group size as well.
True.
You know, if you've got a super small wedding that is not that many guests asking them to come, just immediate family only, then I think less than a year is more achievable or like
It's
easier.
doable if you know like who's going to be in which room and all of that.
Exactly.
Easy. Yeah. Thinking about 50 or more, then definitely give it some more time.
I agree.
I hope these insight tips are helpful, and I think we covered everything.
I think we covered everything. I mean, we could talk about it.
Oh my
all
gosh,
day.
yeah, we can go on. We can keep going. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been fun, and I hope this was as helpful as it was fun for us to share. Don't forget to follow us on our major socials.
Yeah, we've got including Instagram at Paradise Weddings, where you can send us any DMs with any special requests, any comments, anything that you would like to see or hear in the future. Let us know.
Yeah, and we're building a nice community.
We
It's
are.
growing. And we're thrilled to have you with us. So thank you again and have a good one.
Bye.